But can you just start off, like, tell us about you and your background. How did you land this, amazing kind of role with the Mets, leading social, really getting to be the face of the team behind the screen?
Yeah, I mean, as a lifelong Mets fan, this is truly a dream that I couldn't have imagined if I tried, because, well, when I was a kid, social media didn't exist. So, yeah, I mean, I got into sports. I took an internship at Madison Square Garden. Was extremely fortunate to start my career at the world's most famous arena. From there, I moved over to minor league baseball. Actually, unaffiliated minor league baseball in my home state of New Jersey. And a very humbling experience going from the world's most famous arena to a minor league baseball gig. But it was a good opportunity for me at the time to be able to see how everything was done, from selling big sponsorships to corporate partners to cleaning up after the game and counting out vendors and that kind of stuff. So really got a good chance to see how everything it worked. So I ended up going back to the Garden in a marketing role there in sports properties, which handled all the non-team events. And then from there, traveled with the Harlem Globetrotters. Had a chance to go and join that organization, and did that for a little while. Then moved back to New Jersey and joined Giant Stadium and Continental Airlines Arena, and did traditional marketing here. Moved over to Prudential Center when that building first opened in 2007. Then kind of an internal moving from the building side of things and working on the events to working for the New Jersey Devils and doing marketing for the team, which kind of got me back into sports. And it was there where we had a very progressive president, and he wanted to find a way for us to cut down what we were spending in the market, for advertising, and how can we reach our fans directly. And he had just left the Boston area, and the Celtics were one of the early adopters to the belief that social media was going to be this big thing. So he brought that to us. And again, like I said, I didn't grow up with it, but I learned very quickly. I definitely saw it as an evolve or die situation of like, hey, I've seen the growth of email and websites. Like, why would this not be the next one? And fortunately for me, I pushed all my chips into the table and went all in on it, and learned a lot there. It was really fortunate to be able to have that experience. And when I took over that side of things, we were the 28th engaged team in the NHL. 28 out of 30 is not great. I'm not good at math, but I know that much. So but fortunately, we learned a lot. We figured out a program that worked. We started listening to fans. We started doing some different things, and we went from 28th in the league to 1 in a year. So we really figured something out. And then, fortunately for me, the Mets were looking to hire the first person in their franchise with the word social media in the title. And again, as a lifelong Mets fan, to be able to come and join the team was truly an honor. And I've been here now. It'll be 8 years next month. So that's kind of my career path and how I got here.
I think everybody is jealous of your amazing career path and starting off in sports and getting to see every side of live events. Before I kick off my next question, what is the biggest takeaway that you learned, and how did you guys go from 28th to number 1 in just a year?
We started listening to our fans. I think we did a couple of things. First, we were trying to come up with a bunch of different ideas of how we could differentiate ourselves. And again, one summer night, we were all sitting around a table fairly late, kicking out different ideas. And I don't remember who did it, but someone was like, "Hey, why don't we invite fans in to help us with our social media?" And we all had a good laugh, and we kept kicking out more and more terrible ideas and more terrible ideas. And then finally, it was getting too late, and we were like, let's revisit that fan thing again. And we ended up bringing in 25 fans. They didn't publish anything, or they didn't, but they did help us with our social presence and just kind of say like, hey, these are what things people want to see, or these are things, don't do that anymore, or do more of this. We enjoyed that. It was just kind of a sounding board. It was a daily opportunity for us to have a group of fans that we were able to to kind of strategize with. And it was a good cross section of our fan. We had hockey mom with 3 kids who buys the tickets, and we also had college kid who is a fan, and we also had people who just like, I know the digital world, I don't really understand hockey, but my fiance has tickets and I go to games, so I figured this is a good way for me to learn it. So we really had a good cross section of people that were able to help us out. And I mean, ultimately we started listening to the fans. We started to respond to fans, and we started to realize like that had a value. When the New Jersey Devils official account responded to you, a Devils fan, there was a value to that. And once we started to see those type of things, we started to as we saw positive behavior, we started to increase on those things. And things that we tried and didn't do well, we pulled back on. So really it just came down to understanding the fan base and giving them more of what they want.
I love that you went kind of total grassroots with that engagement and talking to fans directly. That is really cool. And I think that kind of leads into the next question of, you really came up through marketing, and your previous roles really focused on performance marketing and supporting revenue generation for the club. So how has that influenced your current role in social with the Mets, and kind of your approach to what engagement looks like, but also the role of social when it comes to larger kind of business objectives?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's what has made me probably more valuable to the organization in this role. Just I think social media gets to be the Rodney Dangerfield of departments. We don't really get that kind of respect. People don't really fully understand. It's a new department. It's a new job title for a lot of places. Whereas like finance and marketing have always existed in these organizations. So I think having that understanding that what my boss and what my boss's boss is going to expect and what's going to translate well for them. I can't just say, hey, we want to make really cool content. I have to back that up and say, here's the business reason why I want to make really cool content. Here's why it's going to help us in the long run, sell tickets and get people into the ballpark. So yeah, I think I had 10 years of experience before social media even existed. So I think that was a huge opportunity for me to take what I'd learned previously and be able to parlay that into this new digital realm.
Nice. And I think like touching on, what are the things that you guys do that, helps drive the business. When we were talking before, you're talking about having some key ROI metrics that kind of you have to balance between the revenue generation side, but then also growing engagement, increasing your reach. How do you balance that? Like what's kind of your take on, okay, we're being maybe a little bit too salesy, or, we're not supporting the revenue generation side enough. How do you balance that? And then how do you measure that kind of success on social and what it looks like for the Mets?
Yeah, I think that's constantly the hard thing for me to balance, is like what the organization wants and then what the fans want. Again, I would say social media first and foremost is a community in which fans look to engage with both us and each other. They're not necessarily trying to be sold. If we have a good deal and we have a good offer for them, they would be into it. But yeah, I think it is kind of balancing. And I think one of the things that's super undervalued is being self-aware. If we know the team is playing well, we probably don't want to dial up sales messaging. We probably want to be conscious of that. At the same time, we still have a business to run here, and we've got to do our part as well. So it's a tough thing to balance, because we obviously have numbers we're trying to hit internally, and we want to get people out to the ballpark, but we don't want to seem tone deaf when we lost a game poorly. It was a more one-sided game, and then all of a sudden we're like, hey, come on out to the ballpark. Fans are not going to rush to buy those tickets because of the current situation. So we'll definitely do our best to keep both sides happy, because again, it's what we're here to do, as well as we don't want to be disloyal to our fans. We want them to know that we're in this as well. It's funny how many negative comments we'll get after a loss, and it's like, not think that, would you think we're excited about this? Like we're just in it maybe even more than you are, because we obviously have to read the comments. So yeah, it's something that's tough for us to do, but we've got a pretty good formula, and we've I think our team internally kind of understands, hey, probably not the best time for this, but just know that we're trying to reach goals, and we're going to need your help at some point.
That's nice. I love what you said about being self-aware and not being tone deaf, especially based on how the team is playing. How do you ever take it personally when, in a past life and, doing some social media, I remember just taking it so personally that I'm like, I wasn't on the field. Like I couldn't influence this. I'm sorry. Do you, any advice or anything you'd say to somebody, a little bit more green who's just getting into the social media game and how not to take things personally?
Yeah, no, it's hard. I will say it definitely took a toll on me early on. Those first couple of years here, I definitely, internalized a lot of that, and finally, had mentioned it to HR, and they were like, no, like this is a real thing. So, as much as I didn't want to seem like a wimp, it's very hard to, because again, I think that the hard part is like everyone gets to hide behind their keyboards and say whatever it is. But it really is, just knowing that, we all go through it. I think it's good to talk to people. It's good to, get away from it from time to time. I think there's certain things where we know, like, if we have a really bad loss, like if there's a more humorous way or a more empathetic way that we can go about doing that, we try to do that. I think it's important. And I think the more we speak directly to our fans, the better those situations are. Again, I highly encourage people who are struggling with that to, definitely, talk to the right people on that, because it really does. I mean, it can affect you, and it can affect your work. And I'm very fortunate. I have an amazing job, and I have an amazing opportunity to be able to, engage and talk as the New York Mets with our team. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a challenge from time to time, but I think also to know too, like, the people that are doing this probably aren't necessarily in the best mindset as well. So, just know that your mental health is probably worth more. And sometimes you just got to get away from the keyboard, put the phone down, get away from the keyboard. Don't read the comments. Just hit final and then the score, and then block it out for a little bit.
It must be hard running social to unplug and put your phone down. But, sports has some of the most passionate fans in the world. We all know that. We were just talking about how emotional people get, if the team loses. But it's been especially challenging, for the whole world in the past 18 months, but sports especially. How has your team approached the role of social media, and how have you guys maybe adjusted how you connect with your fans during this time?
Yeah, I mean, going back a year and a half from now, thinking about that time, it was uncharted territory for us and everyone. We didn't know. We were kind of in the same boat. I think everyone was. We were a little bit scared. We were a little bit confused. We didn't know what to do. And I think it took us a little bit of time, but we were able to kind of reset everything. And I think one of the things that really was important for us was we threw everything out. All of the things that we said, like, oh, we've never done this before, or we shouldn't do this, those were now back on the table. So I think what the whole pandemic has caused us to do is to be a little bit more creative. And I think our team did a phenomenal job of doing a bunch of different things, and we were able to engage with our fans in different ways that we wouldn't have normally done. So I think that span of time, we saw our creativity, we saw our ability to execute some different things, stuff that we're still doing and utilizing now.
So on that, when we were talking earlier this week, you had a really great example of using your alumni in some of the more in-person, what would have been historically, in-person alumni events with your fans, and really, embracing technology and running that virtually. Do you want to kind of walk everyone through, that alumni engagement, and how you guys were able to, an example of how you guys kind of tried new things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we have traditionally done a lot of stuff with our alumni, but we usually get them out to a game, and we used to do in-person videos with them, interview videos. We have an alumni podcast that we also host. Again, all that stuff happened in person, and we would, I think pre-pandemic, we very rarely got people on the phone and or got people on Zoom. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, we're Zoom meeting, like, why can't we do this? And we were able to bring, we were able to bring together one of our alumni, or one of our probably one of our most popular alumni in Mike Piazza, who lives in Italy. He was able to join us, via Zoom and have a conversation with our vice president of alumni relations and another player who's in Florida. So we were able to kind of make the world a little bit smaller and connect with players that we hadn't been able to previously. So that was something that, again, I'm embarrassed to say we didn't utilize that as much as we could have in the past. It was kind of like, well, if you can't get here, then we'll pass and we'll go with someone else. And now, through a very simple technology that we all use now on a daily basis, we were able to provide great content for our fans. And I think during that time, people really wanted to catch up with and see what other people were doing. We all had a little bit more time, and by the time we all got through Tiger King and everything else, we were something else to engage with. So we were able to really produce a lot of video content that we were able to utilize alumni from everywhere, coast to coast and literally internationally.
And in terms of engagement with your fans, and having these new ways to connect with alumni and connect with the team, especially when games were paused, did you see any trends of like the types of fans that were most likely to interact or want to consume that type of content? And that'll lead us into TikTok in a second, but anything from that alumni piece that you guys noticed and maybe continues to help inform some of the things that you're doing today?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, it was kind of like, let's utilize all of our resources. I think we had been underutilizing different things. And so I think that was a key thing. But obviously, there's a number of social platforms that the Mets are on and that we're updating on a regular basis. And, again, like for longer form content, it's YouTube. We know that we have an older fan base on our Facebook. Twitter's kind of the last of the real-time stuff, so that for more updates and that kind of stuff. So we utilize each of our platforms in that sense to kind of fill the holes. And obviously you alluded to it, but like TikTok is one of the things that kind of really emerged over the last year or so. And we jumped on, and we've had a phenomenal jump into it. We're still learning, I think, as many teams and brands are, and how that whole world works. But it's really impressive how influential it is. It's such a young platform. We utilize that to really engage with a younger fan. And in fact, we have so many fans there that I'm not even sure they know what the Mets do. They just know that they like our videos, or they like the fact that we respond to them and we're engaging there. So, which is a great opportunity for us. It's a good chance for us to reach a younger fan base that's traditionally hard for us to connect with.
I want to dig into what you said about responding to fans, because that seems like it's carried you through to your time from the Devils to now with the Mets. And it's really about having that like one-to-one connection with your fans. And I think, you have a cool story about, commenting on on a young fan's kind of TikTok story and how that person kind of totally blew up. But also, I also feel like I'm so old, I don't even know how to use TikTok, but I always see the videos that go viral, get posted on Twitter or on Instagram later on. And so I'm always behind the game on it. But do you want to, the story about, how engaging with your fans has really propelled kind of their ability to connect with a wider audience?
Yeah, I mean, I think we realized very early on that there is a huge value in that one-to-one connection. The unfortunate part is the cost of it is significant, because you can't replace it, you can't automate it. It genuinely is a person responding to another person. We'll do it frequently on Twitter. We're trying to get better at all of our platforms, because again, it is one of those things where at first Twitter was kind of like the place where people expect you to respond. but now, like jumping in comments on Instagram and especially TikTok. TikTok has been huge for that personal interaction, which again, from a time, standpoint, it's challenging, but at the same time too, it's extremely valuable. So yeah, I mean, we had a funny scenario where we've changed our TikTok bio to say, at us, we'll respond. And, people take us up on that all the time. And, a fan had done that, we had responded, hello. And they created a funny TikTok around it where it's somebody speaking and then they get cut off and it says hello, but then our comment pops up. And a very simple, I mean, it was a very simple video, but it just resonated with people and it took off. And this fan who actually they were not even a Mets fan. I think they really just tested the waters to see if we were true to our word and that we would respond. And we did. And they created this video, and then within a very short period of time, they had a few million views, and they were getting a ton of new followers. And then all of a sudden, they started to like blow up on TikTok, and they were TikTok famous. And it was funny because they had created a video afterwards of like. I can't remember which team. I think they might be a fan of the Orioles or the Nationals or some other team, and they had said like, "Oh, when your team is playing the team who made you famous," and they'd created content around it. So it's really funny how something like that resonates. And I think TikTok, more than any other platform, has really provided the opportunity for people to go from 0 to 60 really quickly and become influencers and be able to. Just with creating funny and or viral content.
Well, and also requires, a lot of, I guess, a thought on your team's part about what are the channels that we need to reach to reach that younger audience, but then also knowing what's cool, so you don't get on TikTok and you're just another boomer. And so how do you kind of make sure that you're keeping up to date, or your team's keeping up to date on like what's cool, what is kind of the thing to jump on, and just about, we're getting older, I hate to admit it, but how do you keep kind of up to date on all the trends and what's going on with the younger generations?
The truth is, you probably can't. I think one of the things that we've done to try to combat that is, everyone on our team has an equal seat at the table. So again, we have some people who've recently graduated college, and they will come to me with ideas, and I will say, I have no clue why this is a thing. And I think one of the hardest things in my role is to be able to say, this is not for me. This is going to resonate with a fan base or a group of people who are, much younger than I am. And to kind of let that control go. So I think, I always encourage everyone on our team to bring up ideas for all of our platforms, even copy, the copy that goes with a video, or the video itself or the photo. Like, are there certain things that they notice that I wouldn't have noticed, or vice versa? So, I think we've created an environment where everyone feels pretty comfortable with contributing. And I think it's really important, to do that. Again, pre-COVID, we used to have once a month where we call it our millennial meeting, but we would let anyone, come and share their ideas for social. I think the hard part is social media is very subjective. So we'd go in that meeting and we'd get 90 different ideas from, literally we had standing room only from time to time. So unfortunately can't do those anymore. But again, there would be a number of different ideas, and stuff was very basic ideas, and then there was stuff that was a little more intricate, and there was stuff that spoke specifically to someone who was younger, or someone who English was their second language, or different ideas. So I think having that, just knowing that a good idea could come from anywhere, and the more eyes you have in the market, or the more eyes that you have bringing different ideas, the chances are you're going to find something that's going to hit. And again, like, we love the scenario in which we go viral, quote unquote go viral, but it's a very hard thing to do, because whatever you create has to speak to so many different levels, beyond. And we also have a little bit of a disadvantage, because if you're not a Mets fan, like, how do we reach beyond our fan base as well? So I think it is just, knowing that a good idea could come from anywhere, and having a bunch of people feel comfortable to bring those ideas to you, and listening and actually executing on those. It's one thing to say like, yeah, tell us what's cool and popular, and we'll go out and do it. But if you give us 4 or 5 ideas and you never see those happen, you're going to eventually stop doing that. So we do try to execute, and we try to, hey, listen, I don't know if this is going to work or not, but let's give it a shot and we'll see. And we've had stuff that have really taken off, and we've had stuff that hasn't. But it's not being afraid of failing. It's just saying, hey, this is what we think is going to do really well, so let's give it a shot.
Nice. I love that. And I love that the millennial meeting and really taking into account, everybody's ideas. Everybody always believes they can be a marketer, and, the execution part, I think, takes a lot of skill, but the ideas can really come from anywhere. And at the beginning of the season, when you guys opened spring training, you guys just hit a ton of engagement records and really kind of knocked it out of the park. Bad pun. But you guys did really well at the start of the season, specifically, with videos performing really well. And do you want to tell us a little bit about kind of what that approach was, talking about kind of raw videos versus, other curated ones, and just anything that helped propel those crazy engagement records that you guys hit back in the spring?
Yeah, no, I mean, we had a good plan in place and we were able to go execute it. And obviously the team, I think there was such an excitement around this spring training specifically, because it was starting to feel more normal. We were starting to feel like, hey, this is something I remember. So I think there was an elevated excitement from fans. And then we'd also acquired Francisco Lindor, who is one of the biggest names in the game. So with the combination of him, as well as the general excitement, and we also went through an ownership change as well. So there was a lot of things going in our direction. And the fortunate thing is we had a game plan. We put the sails up and we were able to kind of, go in that direction. We utilize a number of different things. And I think one of the, again, from a social standpoint, I think one of the undervalued assets in social media is timing. You could have a subpar video that is timed very, very well, that all of a sudden takes off. I'm a firm believer in that good content will find a way to live. But if you can couple that with, and we're all over the place down there, and we're shooting stuff with cell phones, we're shooting stuff with DSLRs. We have our productions team who are producing phenomenal 4D, like tremendous, video content for us. So, I think it was kind of having that game plan, and then just, being able to change your eye up a little bit, producing stuff where, it's very raw, very up close, and then stuff that was more produced, giving fans access to some behind the scenes stuff. So, I think having a real good video mix really helped us out in that time.
Nice. And I love what you said about, having a really good plan in place, because I feel like sometimes people just think, who aren't in the social media marketing space, they just think these things just happen. You just think of something and then you tweet it out or you post it on Instagram. And so just curious, from your perspective, having a great plan in place is always really key, but then sometimes there's those, authentic opportunities that come up and you have to capture it in that time, and at that right time, just like you mentioned with the videos. And so how do you balance that, about having a good plan, but also leaving space for some of those more kind of authentic pieces, to come up?
Yeah, I mean, we're very planned. We have a schedule we try to stay to, but like you said, we have to be flexible. There could be something like, again, when we're planning out our content for the, we have multiple documents where we have one that we focus in on just today. So what content is going out on what channels, at what times. We have a weekly, we have a monthly, or and then a yearly, which again, like that really is focusing on like the 4th of July. Falls on the 4th of July every year. We should be prepared for that. So that shouldn't catch us off guard at any point. Like, David Wright's birthday is the same day every year. Like those things shouldn't surprise us. So, but from a more granular when we're looking at our daily content, like we'll go ahead and plan that. And then if something pops up, news breaks, situation happens, something, funny or amazing happens during BP, we've got to be quick to decide, hey, we have something scheduled for 5:30, but there's something better now. So let's bag that, let's move things around. And even during the day, like, we'll have, we'll meet every morning to kind of go through the content for the day. And, there'll be certain things where it's like, hey, we were going to, post this around this time, but, something popped up, and the unfortunate part is there are also scenarios where, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves in that, like, if there is a tragedy or something, we don't want to post some funny, photo on Instagram when, there's something bigger happening around the world. So, the biggest thing that we do is we have a game plan. We're very structured, but we're flexible. If there's better content or better opportunities, we've got to be able to react quickly and make those adjustments in order to capitalize on those, because I still feel very strongly that timing is really everything on social.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. And there must be a lot of things that your team sees and hears and is learning about your fans and, globally, in New York and just across baseball. And how do you share some of those results of what's working best, or what the kind of trends are in behaviors that you guys are seeing on social to your larger organization? And how do you kind of how do you share those learnings internally?
Yeah, I think this is an area we're trying to get better at, because again, I think if we have the right data, and we can better understand our fans, then we're going to be in a much better situation. I don't mind working hard, and the team doesn't mind working hard, but if we can be smarter about what we're doing, obviously wouldn't hurt us. So I think we obviously provide a lot of data and information to the people above myself and shareholders, but at the same time too, it is it's an area where we really want to kind of close the gap and make the world a little bit smaller, in the sense that we want to know that this particular ticket buyer tweets 50 times a day about the Mets, like, or this person runs an account, and they a Mets fan account, but they only come to a ballpark a few times. So we're really working closely with our new technology and information department in order to kind of make that world a little bit tighter, because again, like, we really want to be able to speak better to fans. I know there's always those concerns about, like, our phones listening to us and what is Alexa picking up and passing back, but I do find it to be of value. If I'm talking to my wife about oh, we need to purchase a kitchen table, and then all of a sudden I get hit with Facebook ads or something along those lines that's like, hey, like, this is what you're looking for. It's creepy, but at the same time too, it is beneficial. So I think as long as we're providing value, I think that's the important part, and that's ultimately what we're trying to do. We don't want to know what you're having for dinner tonight, but we do want to know how we can make your experience at the ballpark better.
Nice. That's awesome. And I mean, you don't care what I'm having for dinner tonight, unless I'm going to be at the ballpark and there's definitely some sort of concession item I should be checking out. So there's also kind of, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but there's a struggle to kind of be everywhere and be everything to everyone on every platform. How does your team deal with that kind of FOMO, but also, staying as current as possible? So jumping on on TikTok when it's blowing up, but, not feeling, you only have so many resources. So how do you strategize and prioritize that?
Yeah, I think it is kind of it's a big challenge for us, because again, we're limited in the amount of people we have, the amount of time we have. Our resources from a human standpoint is definitely tight, so we have to be smart about it. It goes kind of back to the sailboat thing of, like, if the wind is blowing really heavy this way, we've got to go in on that side. And I think, like, something like a TikTok is an opportunity where it's fairly new. It's newer, I should say. So we know that there's a lot of juice there now. Like, it's important for us to be there now and kind of get a better understanding for it. And we're currently in the process of hiring someone to focus on that specifically for the team. So yeah, we have to be smart about how we're utilizing resources. And again, like you said, we we also can't leave an opportunity open. So it's not like, hey, if we're devoting all these resources to TikTok, does that affect our YouTube? Does that affect Instagram? Where else is that costing us a deficiency? So just it's a juggling act. We're trying to keep all of those balls in the air and not let any of them fall. But yeah, I mean, truly is, I would say, almost an impossible task to be able to be successful across all of them. Again, if we were in the World Series, that would definitely be a little easier because when you win, everybody likes everything you're doing. So hopefully we'll a year from now, when we're in the postseason and on our way to the World Series, we'll be able to do that. But yeah, I mean, juggling resources and staying current with everything is a challenge. It definitely takes. We work beyond the 40-hour work week, to say the least. So.
Always. Social media never sleeps. I know we've got a few minutes until we're going to open it up to questions. So I just want to encourage anybody who is listening or participating, please feel free to start getting some of your questions into the Q&A box. But while we give people time to do that, Will, the role of social media has really evolved. And like you mentioned at the top of our conversation, it didn't exist 10 years ago. And it continues to evolve faster and faster. And so what new skills would somebody, working in social media need to have now to help them really contribute to the overall organizational strategy and kind of leadership of their organization that, maybe wasn't something that was considered, when social first came out?
I would say be an insomniac, like sleep. This is the job for you. No, I mean, I think, the role has significantly changed in the way we develop content. Traditionally, we had either, waited for the beat writer to write something or, hope our team photographer, got good photos from the night before and we'd share them. Now that's changed completely. We're doing a lot of that stuff ourselves. We're doing it different. I won't say that we're better or worse in any, particular category, but, as far as we have someone from our staff and MLB provides a few live content creators who, focus in on getting photos and video. That's getting sent to us, our team photographers here. So, yeah, I think producing content is definitely, anytime I speak at schools and people are like, what can I improve upon? I think it's, being able to create content, whether that is, I can shoot video and I can edit it, or I can take highlights and edit it. We don't wait now for content to come to us. Like, we're out there going and getting it. So I think being creative is another avenue that is extremely valuable because, ultimately we've got to come up with the ideas. And I think going back to the moral of this is the customer. Like, we need to know what our fans like and produce more of that. So yeah, I mean, I think there's no shortage of things. Obviously, being well organized as well. Like like you had said earlier, there isn't any. It's not just, hey, we're gonna do something today. That stuff's planned out far in advance. Our creative team, our video team is working on all of that stuff well in advance.
So I totally messed up the timing here, and apparently we were already at time when I asked people to bring their questions in. I know Doug asked about how you determine posting times internally. Do you do it by past results or by measured norms from specific platforms? So if you had like 15 seconds, and then Ryan, I'll pass it back over to you. Absolutely.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, we take a look at when things have performed well. Also taking into consideration that there might be, like, for instance, our games are typically from 7 o'clock